when we can look at that from a perspective of extracting the pieces of gold and then weaving those pieces together to create this next chapter and to weave together this masterpiece that we are in stepping into this next part of our lives is really, really valuable. And it requires that you have some self-acceptance about your life.
Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, a global community of women in midlife. I'm here to tell you that it's your time now to rediscover what has always been inside of you and bring that out into the world. If you're wondering what's next, but don't know quite what that is, or if you feel a twinge in your heart telling you that you have so much more to do and so much more to offer, you're in the right place. Ask yourself, if not now, when? Do you want to leave your job, start your own business, take control of your health, reignite the passion in your marriage, write that book, or at least that first chapter? Transitions like this can be daunting, but through listening to my story and interviews with incredible women every week, I hope to inspire you to take action. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome, everyone, to this first full interview episode of 2022. As I said in my first episode, I can't believe we are in our second season of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. Yet at the same time, I can believe it because of the support you have given our podcast and the message that it is resonating that, indeed, it is your time now. My ask for you is if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with even one person. It really makes a ton of difference. All of our podcasts will also be available on video as well, so you can go to powerpurposeplay.ca to watch the videos if you so choose. My goal for you this year is to help you get unstuck. As a midlife transition and core energy coach, I'm excited for all the opportunities for learning we are going to provide you this year. Not only are we going to have all our amazing guests on this podcast, but I will be coming in to provide you with practical lessons on how you can make this next best chapter of your life the best chapter ever. I'm also so excited to announce that our first transformational group coaching session of the year, called It's My Time Now, will be starting in mid-March. If you believe it really is your time to realize your full potential, join this exciting online and group coaching program. We are limiting this to 15 women. I will personally take you through our 8-week program, which will lead you from confusion to clarity on your life's callings right now. Through both online and weekly group coaching meetings, we will help you rediscover your true strengths, passions, values, and your reason for being. We will take you through a process of visualization and help you uncover the inner blocks which may be stopping you. Finally, we will help you gain your confidence to take your next steps and help you build a concrete plan of action you can implement this year. You will be with a small group of like-minded women who are motivated to make positive changes in their lives. My goal is to help you release your full inner potential. Take some time this year for yourself, my friend. I'm here to help you. Reach out to me at Kavita at powerpurposeplay.ca or book a free call with me at the links in the show notes. I'm sure you'll love today's episode with Jewel Veitch as I speak to her on igniting your soul's gifts. She has some amazing pearls of wisdom that I'm sure you will enjoy. And be sure to stay till the end as I will be offering some special gifts to you as our valued listener. Cheers, and now enjoy today's interview. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of Power Purpose Play. We are a global platform which is dedicated to advancing the personal growth and inner power of women in midlife. Our goal is to help you rediscover yourself as you move forward in the next chapter of your life. To that end, I interview incredible women every week who will serve as an inspiration for you and who will give you examples of how to face the obstacles in your way and take that first step towards reinvention. This week, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jewel Veitch. Jewel is a seasoned transformational mentor, a spiritual guide, an author and speaker in the field of personal and career development. She is the international best-selling author of True Gifts, Ignite Your Soul Magic, and Monetize the Highest Expression of Your Purpose. She has supported countless women to launch their dream of building a legacy through igniting their soul's gifts to their purpose on this planet while getting paid to do what they love. Her influence is helping people to choose and engage in careers and businesses that are a direct reflection of their authentic soul's expression. So welcome to the podcast, Jewel. And I love that your work is really all about soul's expression. And looking forward to getting into that. But before we start, I just wanted to find out a little bit about your story and how you came to do what you're doing now. I understand that you had a bit of a difficult childhood and were deeply affected by your sister and her, I believe she had a fatal diagnosis as well. So tell us about that experience and how that led you to do what you're doing today.
Sure. Yes, I grew up in a fairly volatile home. And when my sister was in her early 20s, she was diagnosed as HIV positive. And at that time, it was a fatal diagnosis. And so we knew that her life would end, and it took 10 years. And there was a 10-year period of anticipatory grief. And that was when I embarked on my own spiritual journey. And also when my hair turned white, and there was a lot of turbulence at that time. And I, by virtue of having gone through that loss and that pain and that adversity, it was a catalyst for me to really begin to look within and start. That's when the inner core work really started within me, which I later brought to the world in service of others. And now my clients and my beautiful clients. And so I actually feel really grateful for it now today, yes. Although I didn't at the time, and we don't when we're going through it, but so many gifts. And I would have to say that the 2 decades of spiritual journeying was in concert with the 2 decades of working as a career practitioner at the same time. And so I am wired and always have been wired to connect the dots. And so I brought those 2 aspects of life and of growth and potential together. And so as I was helping women and men to journey through these career exploration phases, I was also journeying myself, and was always beyond the question of what help me find my career path, help me find the work that I love. And it always went beyond that to land in the field of what is my real deeper purpose and what are my truest gifts that I can fully express in the world. And then how do I translate that into a career or livelihood that is the fullest most authentic expression of who I am. So the loss was the catalyst. And then from there, creating that bridge between career, whether traditional or self-employment, either way, there is still this common thread of fully expressing the most authentic nature of who we are. Mm-hmm. And when we're doing that, that's when we're most fully connected to the greater part of ourselves. And that's really what humans experience as true freedom. That's where the inner freedom lives. So
that's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. You said so many things there. And I know that as I've spoken to many women and many people about how their trajectory, and often it's about a trigger that happened. And then I think this, in terms of what happened with your sister, that was a trigger for you. And you had said something or I read some unquote that said, this powerful encounter and connection with something much larger than myself cracked me wide open. And so what I really like about what you said is that you took that experience, but you also kind of connected the dots, as you said. And it's so important for us to do that because, in my opinion, because the universe is giving us these signs along the way. And if we don't, we have to listen to them. And it sounds like you did, and that you were thinking about what is this teaching me, and how can I apply it in life moving forward. So that's a lot of people don't do that. So and I think that's what you're teaching them, right? So yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't do it at first. I mean, it took me a while to actually connect those dots. And what you said is really important too, about all of these crystallizing moments in our lives have been part of your future, have been part of today. And by connecting the dots of all these experiences and extracting the essence of those experiences and the deeper, I'm going to say, meaning in a way that helps to make sense of your life, is a real, that in itself is a freeing exercise. And I call it life mapping in my work with clients. But to really have a look at, there are really serious life defining moments like that one for me, and all of us, especially in midlife. It's very difficult to reach midlife without having experienced some true pain.
Sure.
And loss and tragic, potentially tragedies, adversities, challenge. And when we can look at that from a perspective of extracting the pieces of gold and then weaving those pieces together to create this next chapter and to weave together this masterpiece that we are in stepping into this next part of our lives, is really, really valuable. And it requires that you have some self-acceptance about your life and your life's experiences and the way that you operated within those experiences, and really remove, and this is the work, is to strip away the stories that are attached to these life experiences. And that's what I mean by extract the gold, extract the nugget from those experiences that contribute to this future reinvention, future
masterpiece,
whether it's livelihood or what's that?
I love that way you said masterpiece, extract the gold. That's really, I love that expression, because it is, we are our own individual masterpieces. And how do we move forward? And exactly, that's wonderful. And you talked about life mapping, and you also talk about the inner core system that you teach. Maybe you could, and you say it's like yoga for the soul. So maybe you can explain that a little bit in terms of what you mean by this inner core system that you have. Okay.
The inner core work is what I developed as I was healing through the adversity that I went through. And it incorporates accessing the multitude of intelligences that exist within us. Our body's intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our mental intelligence, intuitive heart intelligence. And we tend to really rely on our mental intelligence because that's how we've been programmed. And there is so much more to the mental intelligence. And in fact, by relying on it solely, that's what traps us. That's what gets us cycling around in the confusion and the frustration and the lack of clarity. What am I meant to do? What am I supposed to do? Where clarity comes when you open up to accessing all these parts of yourself, so that you can open the channel for this intuitive wisdom to flow through. So the inner core work is really going within. In a simple way to explain it, is going within and really tuning into the core of your being in order to rise to and meet yourself in the places and spaces that are really, really holding your fullest potential. It's just that we're blocked from that. there's these veils, there's these illusions, and there's these stories. There's basically fear-based limited thinking and ways of being in your mental, right?
Yes.
Always in your head, and staying there.
Yeah.
And not dropping into the heart intelligence, which is the body of work that I've created on the heels of the inner core work. And it's really the foundation of it, comes back full circle, I've discovered, is really coming back to your heart and coming back to the language of your heart and the way that your heart speaks to you, and the way that it's that quiet soul's whisper.
Yes.
Higher wisdom that's available to answer your questions about what am I meant to do next, and what are my gifts that I'm meant to leverage, and what is my deeper purpose, and all of those big questions that once we can tap into our heart intelligence and let our heart speak and develop this heart language vocabulary for ourselves, because it resonates at the frequency of truth versus the frequency of illusion, of mind chatter, which is illusion, it starts to build new neural pathways, and it starts to counter the weight that what stops us from our fullest expression is weighing us down with.
Yes, you're so right, because when we live in our thoughts in our head, our thoughts are always telling us things like, oh, no, stopping us from doing things. But when you tap into that, you call it your inner heart, I call it inner self, and listen to her or him or her, the answers are all inside. And
always,
I have found that, like, over the years, I've found that more and more it's easier to tap into that for me, because just by being still and by meditating and just being. But what are some of the tactics that you use to tap into that inner heart?
Well, similar to you, it's when we can rest in because our breath is it's a physical mechanism for us as we live and breathe, and using breath and returning to breath and focusing on breath actually brings us back into that center point, and listening to our heartbeat, because our heart is an electromagnetic force field, and it actually magnetizes. When the heart is open, it magnetizes what we desire. And when the heart is closed, because we're not listening and we're in our heads, then we're not magnetizing what we desire. And so one such practice that's tangible is to, yes, absolutely. And it's a worldwide, well-known mindfulness practice, because mindfulness is present moment awareness. And that's really the key, is that present moment awareness of our breath, of our heartbeat, of our thoughts also. And one of the things that I do with clients is to guide them to identify these beliefs that are vibrating in them, because we all vibrate at a certain frequency. And if we're vibrating densely with belief systems that are cycling around, then our hearts can't open, right? Because it's basically depressed by the density of the mental chatter.
Yes.
And that thoughts originate from these beliefs. And like, for instance, the belief that I adopted in the crystallizing moment of my life where my sister died was, I am not safe. And that belief will permeate until you deconstruct it and disentangle it. So one of the things that we do is we uncover and identify what that belief that's running in the system is doing, how it's operating, and then using the body and the sensory and the higher intelligences to observe it and watch it, and then transform it from that belief to install a new belief that is based in heart truth. And when you do that, it's not just an intellectual exercise, because you drop out of the intellect. When you do that, there's a visceral experience and a cellular experience, because our beliefs are held in our cells, but our cell receptors actually open to communicate with each other. And when they do that, there's that opening fosters a new kind of communication through the heart communication. And so now we can start to adopt these beliefs, but not just mentally. It's not just affirmations or mantras that we hear somewhere.
Yes.
It's actually a visceral experience of knowing versus believing.
Wow. I haven't thought of it that way, because I do focus a lot on the breath and that, but I've never thought of actually listening to my heartbeat. And that really, what you just said there, I was like, that is something that's interesting, because it opens up so many, like you said, from a cellular level. And yeah, I'm going to try that. I haven't tried that before. So it's a different way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a skill.
Yes.
It's an art, and it's like a touch point, because we're human, we're physical humans. One touch point is breath, because we can relate to breath.
Yes.
One touch point is heartbeat. And when our heart is pounding fast because we're in fear, then there's something there. When our heart is pulsating the truth, it's a different sensation. And so it's really like, it's quite an art, because now you're getting into the layers of how your heart is pulsing, and you know when it's pulsing at the highest frequency, and you know when it's pulsating at a very in a fear-based frequency. So
interesting. Yeah, I have a science background, so that's all very fascinating to me. So I got to read more about that.
Yeah, good.
So one other thing, Jewel, is I ask this a lot to my guests, and especially what you mentioned in midlife, there's so many things going on, and we often stop ourselves because we lack the confidence in ourselves to move forward or to take the next steps. We are held back by our own fears or limiting beliefs and whatever is holding us back. And how did you encourage yourself, or how do you encourage others to have the courage or the confidence in themselves to take the next steps? Because the next stage, the stage of our life moving forward is so important, and there's so much potential for all of us. As long as we were able to tap out of those fears, or like to gain the courage to do so. So just some thoughts on that, perhaps.
So I'll start by saying that when we feel this fear, it's actually a catalyst to point us in a direction where we need to grow, where we need to stretch. And so have it like full acceptance, full range acceptance of all of it, including the fear, is a very good first step, as opposed to, I am in fear, I need to get rid of it. I need to get rid of it before I take a step, is to acknowledge and tune into the fear, know it's there. And that's where our body's intelligence really comes in, because it responds immediately, and we'll know it's there. And there's ways to work with that, but acknowledging that it's there, and acknowledging that this is new, acknowledging that this is unknown foreign territory, and acknowledging that the desire to step forward and do something new is greater than the fear. And asking, well, what if my desire for this was greater than my fear? And that's a really good question. Like, what if it was actually possible to step into the next stage in my life in a way that feels really good for me? And so taking the small steps, I call it, and I write about this in my book, around the breadcrumbs that land before you on your path, come from your life field, or your life experience, and acknowledging the breadcrumbs for what they are, and seeing them as signals to have you turn your gaze toward those breadcrumbs and ask, I wonder what's here for me in this breadcrumb. And then allowing yourself to open up to the value of each and every one of the little tiny breadcrumbs. So if you have an idea, but you've not stepped forward to take action on that idea because it's scary, because of the fear, to return to look back at the idea and say, well, there's something that dropped on my path. There was a breadcrumb that dropped on my path that gave me that idea in the first place. And it could be that it's one of the dots connected in your life mapping. It could be that it's right in front of you. And looking at that idea and saying, and coming back into connection with and relationship with that idea, and noticing if you cut yourself off at the knees and say, no, I can't do that. And how prevalent that is. And when you do that, and when that intellect and that fear-based thinking says, no, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, you'll never be able to make money at that, that isn't a gift that's worthy of leveraging, all this mind chatter, just notice it and return to the idea and go, I wonder what's possible here with this. And then do something for yourself, like go out into nature, go for a walk, and get the chai energy moving, and holding the idea loosely enough that you're opening to the possibilities, and following each of the breadcrumbs. And as the breadcrumbs fall, inviting the breadcrumbs to fall, and the breadcrumb might come in the form of another idea. It might come in the form of reaching out to Kavita to see if we can do a podcast together, because you're really like, I don't know how our paths crossed, but that was a breadcrumb.
Yes.
And acting on the little breadcrumbs and taking little steps. And as you take the little steps, what you're doing is you're cultivating trust and faith in yourself. And people often ask me, how do you build trust? And I say, by trusting. You build trust by trusting that even if you're afraid, just take a little step.
Yeah.
Just a tiny little step, because what that will do is it will activate and it will fuel this desire that you have in you with one more injection of belief in yourself. And rather than looking at the stairwell and trying to see 30 steps up the stairs where you can't see, just look at the next step.
Yes.
And
yes,
understanding that just this one step is going to open something, even if you don't know what it is.
Yes. Yes. I mean, everything you said just now is exactly, I mean, that's what happened to me. And it's happened as I speak to so many people. I think the difference between people who actually do things and listen to their guidance is by open to listening to those breadcrumbs. I listen to Abraham Hicks a lot, and the first thing she says is ask what your inner self, what you want, and then be open to the possibilities. And oftentimes, it's those things in our head that are telling us, no, we can't do it. But as you said, if you listen to your heart and take even one step, like you mentioned, how did we meet? I don't really know. And that's what's happened through my whole last couple of years is I've been open to meeting people and to the possibilities. And it's amazing what happens if you just open yourself up to that. And so that, and I like that, what you said about cultivating faith in yourself, because as women, as people, generally women, we don't have the faith in our own strengths or superpowers or our own skills to really tap into them. But by listening to these signs and really focusing on what is that we're good at and asking ourselves, what do we want to do moving forward? What do we value? What are we passionate about? All those things, if we ask ourselves in truth, then the answers will come. So I think it's so important to do that. And that's especially now because our lives change at this stage of our life. We may have our circumstances change. We may have kids who have grown up and gone away, or we're at the end of our careers, or we're trying to figure out what's new in our careers. So it's really about tapping into what our strengths are and what our values are, and what our passions are. There was one thing that I heard this morning, and this is just off my head. Sometimes we ask something, we want something to manifest, right? And then if it doesn't manifest right away, we get disappointed, right? How do we, and then when we think about those disappointing thoughts, then it's just the thoughts become things, and it becomes more of I guess it's difficult for that to manifest. It takes longer. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So if it's kind of like when you plant a seed, like if you're a farmer, you plant a seed, you wait for it to grow and to manifest. But oftentimes we're so impatient, right? And that we want things to manifest right away, but we have to learn to kind of accept and be patient, and that what we've asked for or what we really want is out there. And it's just a matter of being open to receiving whatever we've asked for. I know that's totally off topic, but it just
it's a breadcrumb.
Yes.
The breadcrumb for this conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know exactly what you mean. And it's like what we want to manifest is our heart's desire.
Mm.
And whatever our hearts do desire, whatever our soul desires, is as soon as the desire is revealed and uncovered and comes to the surface, it actually is alive. And the answer to that desire and the manifestation of that desire already exists. But it's the gap between that desire and our energetic currency, like the underlying current of our energy and the way that we think about, I can't, and all the limiting beliefs that are the gap between the desire and the manifestation of it. And
yes.
and that's what you're saying, right? And I believe that if someone can honor their desire for what it is and honor the power of their desire as actually possible, because anything is possible, infinitely possible, when we strip the layers of debris and of the limited fear-based conditioning, it already exists, it's already vibrating. And so to start, and really in a simple way, keep asking the question, like, what if this is possible? Because even in asking the question, it opens us up. It opens up our energy field to tapping into the possibilities, and continue to do the inner core work and continue to do the work of stripping whatever's in between your desire and that manifestation. But if you believe that the manifestation is possible, because you're tuning into possible, infinite possibility all the time, whether it's to lay down and look up at stars at night and see the massive, I mean, that's just a fraction of the universe that's out there. But to know that it's actually possible and then do the work, those are the ingredients, and continue to do the work, and then have self-compassion and self-acceptance around that you're doing the work, and that by doing the work, you are moving in the direction of your desire. By ignoring and pushing away and not leaning into self-acceptance, you're distancing yourself from that manifestation, because the density between the desire and the actual reality becomes thicker and thicker. If that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And that kind of triggered something in my mind in that often we get stuck in what we're doing. And because we feel like there's no other avenue, like let's talk about career, because I know that many people are in a career that they've been in for a long time, for example. They're not fulfilled as they would like to be, but they feel that there's no other way out, right? So I know that's part of your work. So maybe you can talk to that. And then sometimes people will say, well, it's okay. I can't do this. I need to pay the bills, or yeah, sure, I'm manifesting. I want to do whatever, but it's not practical, right? And that's real. I mean, you have to live in this world and you have to pay the bills so how do you get around that? And how do you explain that to clients that there is another way? Or I don't know if that's part of your work or.
Oh, absolutely. It's all, it's a huge part of it. And it ties into what we were just talking about. It ties into this, the building the trust, that cultivating that faith and that trust in yourself, that you have the internal resources to move from your desire to the manifestation, to build the internal resources that become so supportive of you and so genuinely giving of you, from you, to you, for all the things that are needed to move you from A to B, from this career that you're really dissatisfied with. And the mind trap of, this is how I meet the needs of my financial needs. This is how I pay my bills. This is my security. We all have developed a story around our limitation. And of course, it's paying the bills. But there are other ways of paying the bills. There are more expansive ways of commanding income where you're not dissatisfied, but where you're very dissatisfied. So the gap is between the story and the reality, the perceived reality that we're in. And we say, well, it's real. Like, of course, I have to pay the bills. And so I'll share my evolution and my story, which might be helpful here, is when I experienced such a deep desire to be an entrepreneur, to have the flexibility and the freedom with my time and my space and my body and my family in order to be able to really expand in my God-given gifts. And this desire was extremely strong. And I was in a traditional career that was paying the bills.
Yeah. Hi, my friend. Kavita here. Do you often feel blocked from moving forward? We all feel that way at times. These are referred to as energy blocks. I've created a short, actionable PDF guide to help you release your negative energy blocks. Click the link in the description to download it now for free. Now, let's get back to the episode.
And so what I did was I began a morning ritual. I committed to bringing myself into the frequency of the desire. And so in my morning ritual, I would use breath. I would listen to my heartbeat. I would do something creative. I started inspirational writing. For some people, it's drawing. For some people, it's walking. And although it seems very unrelated, it's completely related, because what you're doing is you're bringing yourself into a frequency of that desire for 20 minutes in the morning. And by doing that, you're building that reservoir of energy that actually is building the manifestation. And even though, I did that for about 6 months, and I just committed to that. And I would go to work, and suddenly my experience at work became way more pleasant. I began to actually just be looking forward to going to work, because I knew that I was looking beyond this reality into the realm of possibility, because I was aligning myself with something that I truly loved. And I say in my book, do what you love right now. Don't wait to do what you love. Do it now, whether it's walking your dog or whatever it is, and build that frequency in yourself. And after 6 months, another breadcrumb dropped, and the breadcrumb was, oh, you could be an editor because you're such a beautiful writer and you're talented. And I followed the breadcrumb, and I edited spiritual works, and I set up an account on something called Elance, which is a online platform for you to exchange a service in order for payment. And I put myself out there as an editor. And then I thought, this is really solitary. I need to connect. There's more. And I just kept doing my morning practice. There must be more. And about a week later, someone who came into my office said, you would be an amazing life coach. And I said, what? What is that? And so another breadcrumb. And so I pursued that, and I took a step, and I contacted another life coach, and then another one to see, what is this all about? So I took the little steps. Meanwhile, I'm still working. But as I took the steps, and as I fed my desire this way by maintaining a very consistent morning practice of bringing myself into the frequency of what I desired, then all of a sudden at work, there was an opportunity to drop a day. And I sat down and I did the math, and my husband and I said, yeah, we can totally drop a day. And then I used that day for cultivating my skills as a life coach and taking training and all of that stuff. And then that was a period of time. And then 6 months after that, there was an opportunity where one of my colleagues was retiring, and there was an opportunity to work 2 days a week. And I thought, wow, because by then I was coaching some clients, and I had started, and I was vibrating in the frequency of this desire. And it wasn't editing, it was life coaching at the time. And I loved it. So I was filling my cup. and therefore vibrating at that frequency. And so I was attracting people who wanted to work with me. So I went to 2 days a week and then no days a week, and launched fully in 2013. So I tell that story, I think, in answer to your question, because it kind of relates to the 30 steps up the stairway. Like if you're trying to look at the top of the stairwell when you're in a career that you truly dislike, and that truly is just life draining for you, you can't see. So therefore you can't see your way. And therefore you're remaining in the cycle of staying stuck. And this is how I pay my bills. And this is my only choice. And I have to stay. And so you're keeping yourself in limitation. But if you take one step, and if your one step is to develop a morning practice. Yeah. And I mean, I did mine in the morning because it set my day, it set the tone for my day, and it just literally changed my life. But to commit to that quiet, mindful stillness, maybe it's meditation. In my morning practice, there was meditation, there was yoga, there was walking, and there was writing. You know, and it was all within the course of maybe half an hour. Yeah. And if you take the one step, and then something will land, a breadcrumb will show up in your world. I promise you. Yes. I've never worked with a client who did the work who did not experience this. Yes. It's so true. Right? It's so true. I mean, I've done that too. And that was similar to your story. And thank you for sharing that. I was in the corporate world for 25 years. Again, it was like, there was something in my heart that told me that this is, and then I started cultivating that routine, and it just comes to you. It's incredible how it comes to you as long as you're open to it. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, and you were talking about the steps, like don't look at the whole staircase, but what about actually visualizing? Like, is it not important to kind of have a vision for what you're hoping for? Absolutely. Or what you see yourself in? Because and that could be the highest top of the stairs, and that's the vision. And it's absolutely important to visualize, because as Napoleon Hill said, and this is truth, it's scientific, and it's quantum physics. What man can conceive and believe, they can achieve. He can achieve. Yes. So conceiving and visualization, and that's what athletes do right before they visualize win, and then they manifest it, because they're so attuned to that frequency. Yes. So yes, absolutely. The visioning and the visualization and creating vision boards is powerful. I had 4 vision boards during that period of time. And it's the top of the staircase. It feels like it is the top of the staircase, but it's that the steps you take, you can't fly. Well, we can learn to fly. Yes. But you can't jump from here to the top of the staircase and straight into the core of your vision, the heart core of your vision overnight. Exactly. But it's so important to hold that big picture and hold it in your heart and have it in front of you while you're meditating in the morning. And that goes back to the seed that I was talking about earlier, right? That's right. The seed, because you can see that the plant at the end of it. Yeah. And plant the seed, and then you don't know what the steps are going to take. So but you're watering it. You're watering it, and you have to have all the conditions for it to grow, right? So exactly. Fantastic. Yeah. This is so interesting. So tell us about your book. My book is something that I've written as this is it here. True Gifts, Ignite Your Soul. Ignite your soul magic and monetize the highest expression of your purpose. My book is filled with client stories, antidotes. Inside the body of the book is an 8-step framework to the inner core work, the inner core system, where it's progressive. And so it gives people an opportunity to build on these things, some of these things that we're talking about today. There's so much more, but it is basically an opportunity to integrate these ideas that we're talking about today, but to actually implement them, put them into practice. And there's an introduction to accessing these intelligences, especially how we build and cultivate this self-trust and really connect with our highest heart intelligence as a dimension of ourselves that we've never really used before, not consciously. So it's and I have a companion course to the book that I run, and it's a way to really personalize these steps. The book is sort of a workshop style in a way, and it's full of very provocative questions, deepening questions, reflections, and then integrating the answers and all kinds of practical ways that we can become mindful and get still and learn to slow down that mind chatter. And
yes, sounds fascinating.
So it's really sort of a culmination of what I've always done with private clients. And now, well, for the last couple of years, I've had group programs that are intimate. And this is my keystone one right now, is this Ignite.
Nice.
Your True Gifts program. And that's what the book is, a living, breathing entity now. And it's been reaching all kinds of women who are in midlife. And
congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we will definitely put the links into the book and what your program's at in our show notes. But
thank you.
It's always nice to have practical ways of manifesting these concepts, right? So that's what I'm trying to do with my community as well. But so what, just I guess maybe last thought about to our audience of women who are really in midlife and looking forward to the next chapter, any kind of wisdom that you could impart?
That this is like this part in our lives, this point in our lives, is just such a huge opportunity to bring together all of these nuggets of our life experiences in a way that can make them mean something and turn them into something that is going to be of value to the world and as our contribution, and to really just keep going with taking the next step and be mindful of the breadcrumbs. And take time every day, if possible, to really just connect with that quiet, still part of yourself, where the mental intelligence, that mind capacity, which has a purpose, but we're just misusing it, to just slow down and to really listen into that heart speak so that you can hear what the next step for you is. It might be to go pick up. I just have this beside me. This is a crystal. Just to go to your space and just hold the crystal. I don't know.
Yes.
I often actually do that. It's like, I need some grounding. I just feel all over the place. And just really make it a priority to give yourself that quiet time, even if you don't know what it's going to yield.
You. And touch the jewels, right? Of your life.
And touch the jewels. Absolutely.
Yes. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. That was just a really enlightening and wonderful discussion. I really appreciate all your insights and your work. And I would encourage anyone who's listening to seek out Jewel's book and her work. And we can all learn from each other. And so I really learned a lot from you today. So thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much. I just really appreciated having this conversation with you. Thanks, Kavita.
You're welcome. I'm sure you enjoyed this episode with Jewel Veitch just as much as I did. In her elegant and powerful way, Jewel has given us some practical tips on how to ignite our soul's gifts. Here are her key takeaways. And remember, be sure to listen to the end, as I have some wonderful gifts for you for listening. Number 1, acknowledge the breadcrumbs that lie before you on your path, which come from your life experiences. Recognize them for what they are and see them as signals. Ask yourself, I wonder what's here for me in this breadcrumb. Number 2, extract the nuggets of gold from your experiences in life, and then weave those pieces together to create this next chapter, this next masterpiece of life or reinvention that we are stepping into. 3, inner core work is really going within and tuning into the core of your being in order to rise to your full potential. Number 4, it's important to tap into the heart intelligence. coming back to your heart and the language of your heart, that quiet soul's whisper, to answer those questions about what am I meant to do next and what are my gifts. 5. Listen to your heartbeat. Your heart is an electromagnetic force field, and when the heart is open, it magnetizes what we desire. 6. Mindfulness is present moment awareness, and that is the key of our breath, of our heartbeat, and of our thoughts. 7. Fear is actually a catalyst to point us in the direction of where we need to grow and stretch. 8. Acknowledge if the desire to step forward and do something new is greater than the fear, and ask yourself, what if my desire for this is greater than my fear? 9. Rather than looking at the stairwell and trying to see 30 steps up, just look at the next step, and that one step will open up something, even if you don't know what it is. 10. Have self-compassion and self-acceptance that you are doing the work, and that by doing the work, you are moving in the direction of your desires. Thank you so much for listening and supporting this podcast. As promised, as a special gift to you for being a loyal listener, if you connect with me today with your name and the phrase, "You're a podcast listener," I will provide you with 20% off our first group coaching session of the year, starting in mid-March. Not only that, I will offer you one complimentary 1 hour of private coaching with me. As I said before, this group's coaching is open to 15 women only because it allows for maximum participation and allows me as your guide to really get to know you. Email me at kavita@powerpurposeplay.ca or schedule a free 30-minute call with me on the links below. Remember, put in the phrase, "Your podcast listener." You can learn more details about the program called It's My Time Now in the show notes as well. I'm so excited for you because I know you have so much in your heart and soul that you want to release, or that you may be needing help to figuring out what that is. Contact me, my friend, because that is my soul's purpose, to help you. In love and light, and until next week, stay safe and stay well.